All right, it's 6 o'clock. We're going to get the meeting started. Can we have roll call, please?
Guyer, Harmon,
Here.
Larson,
Here.
Vance,
Here.
Whitbeck.
All right, no special presentations. Consent calendar. Can I get a motion and an approval of the consent calendar?
So moved to accept the calendar. I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Review of the proceedings. I'm going to read this off. A quasi-judicial hearing involves the consideration of a land use request such as annexation, rezone, classification, or approval of a subdivision preliminary plat. The public hearing procedure, as required by the Idaho Code, are as follows. Oral and written testimony will be accepted from those who have signed in to speak prior to the hearing being declared open. When providing testimony, please come to the podium, state your name, address, which will be included in the record. The applicant or applicant's representative will be given up to 20 minutes to present their land use request. The city planner will then follow up with their staff report. Public testimony. Testimony of those in support will be taken, followed by those in a neutral position, and finally those in opposition to the request. Note, all public testimony will be limited to 3 minutes or less. The applicant will be offered the opportunity to provide a rebuttal testimony, followed up by the planner if necessary. After the rebuttal testimony is given, the public testimony portion of the public hearing will be closed and no new oral or written testimony will be allowed. However, city staff are allowed to discuss any questions or concerns with the commissioners after public testimony has been closed. So we have no old business, so we're going to get on to new business. Action item, case number ANN 25-09, SPP 25-12, Summit Grove subdivision. If I could get the applicant to present. Thank you.
You can go ahead whenever you're ready.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Matthew Parks on behalf of the applicant. My address is 251 East Front Street, Boise, Idaho, 83701. So we're here for an application for annexation of the property into the city Caldwell, and requesting approval of preliminary plat. Summit Grove is a proposed age-restricted target community, age 55 and over. There's going to be 32 proposed residential lots. 31 are going to be single-level, single-family attached townhomes. It's going to be located in 2615 Dorman Avenue. Proposed zoning is going to be R2. The location is on the screen right now. It's near Our Lady of Valley Catholic Church and the Sanctuary Cowboy Church. It's in the Farmway Road corridor. We'll have a little bit more information on the next slide. You can kind of see the property, in that white area. There's other applications that have been approved. 3 are approved with entitlements. One of those other projects is coming back to the city for another replat. But as you can see, there's some properties that's kind of out on the outskirts of the developed area, and this is well within the city area of impact and is contiguous to existing subdivisions. So the vision of the subdivision is to provide high quality, low maintenance homes for people that want to age in place. This is, all homes are going to be single level. There's going to be a mix of townhomes ranging from 2 units to 4 units. There'll be a map later on showing exactly the layout. The community design encouraged independent living and social connection, and this is not a low-income project. This is going to be a market rate project. There were some concerns in comments to the public that this was going to be a apartment type project, or it was going to be low income. I just want to make sure that this is market rate, this is attainable housing, and this is going to be for sale units. Here's kind of a layout. You can see the existing home is on the bottom left, and the other properties are going to be developed around it. Manchester Drive is going to kind of have an S-curve through the property to kind of cut down on the traffic impact, and there's going to be a open space on the southern portion of the property. There's going to be a fence around the development, and that's going to provide a buffer to the neighbors. And again, I'll make sure this is going to be a single level, so there's not going to be any impact on view corridors for the neighbors. Currently, it's surrounded by single-family residential neighborhoods. It's in the Neighborhood 2 area in the comprehensive plan. This is intended for mid to low-density project. This fits well within the comprehensive plan. The proposed density is 6.9 dwelling units. You can have between 2 and 8, so we're on the well within the limits there. And the project is going to seamlessly integrate with the existing adjacent property owners. I say that because there's a lot of property that is in the R1 zone right next door that has comparable density. It's very close. Some of those properties are about 1 to the acre. I'm sorry, about 5 to the acre. This is going to be a little bit more than that, but pretty much the same. I want to talk about the comprehensive plan, how this fits with the comprehensive plan. Neighborhood 2, that zoning, it encourages diverse housing types. We've got townhomes and other really, townhomes are not well represented in the very near properties, but this one will fit well with that. And that specifically indicates that in the comprehensive plan, we should encourage aging in place, so allowing people to live in Caldwell, stay in Caldwell. This allows to a transition to people in Caldwell, live in Caldwell, grow up in Caldwell, and then age in place in Caldwell. We're also providing infill development and encouraging that kind of development that we've got city services already existing in the property. It's going to be tied in right next door. This is going to be it's not going to be a big impact on the provision of services. There were some concerns with the taxing districts or the impact. We didn't get any adverse or opposition comments from any of the taxing districts. If anything, staff noted that was consistent with a comprehensive plan, and there was, again, no issues with the school district. There were some comments that this is going to tax the school district, and we've got a project that is going to have 55 and over residents, so the impact on the school is going to be negligible. Perhaps 1 or 2 residents might have grandchildren or older children that might be living there, but for the most part, it's not going to have any impact on the taxing districts at all. We also have a lack of sidewalks right now, so this is going to connect that property to the existing neighborhood. They're going to have there's a school about 3/4 of a mile away, Wilson Elementary. This is going to allow safe neighborhood walking to school, and also there's going to be a lot of properties or projects, developments next door or in the neighborhood that are going to allow for a myriad of, I guess, uses for the neighborhood. We've got schools, we've got commercial development, but a lot of residential in this area. And we want to have a mix of housing types in Caldwell per the comprehensive plan. So this achieves that goal. And there's a continuum of care from independent living to assisted living to transitional facilities. Actually, in the area within 3/4 of a mile, there are 2 facilities that are assisted living facilities, and there's a transition housing right here as well. So you really do have a school, you have churches, you have a lot of basically a neighborhood feel to this area. I think we talked a little bit about the age-targeted design. I really want to focus on, I'm in that area. I'm not 55 just yet, but I'm getting there. But I'm transitioning to single family just to kind of, I'm assuming single level to make sure that I don't fall. But I think this is ideal housing that allows people to stay in Caldwell, age in place, and downsize or stay in Caldwell and not have to worry about moving to a different jurisdiction or in another city. So I talked about the attached townhomes. We have that one detached home. That's going to be the existing home. The other ones are going to be subject to CC&Rs that are going to allow or make sure that it's kept in, maintained in a very high quality. The other property, even though it's going to be outside of the CC&Rs in itself, we are still going to have this property, that one attached home is going to still within the platted subdivision. We've got a mix of 2 to 4 unit projects. So this is, again, not for sale units. I want to make sure this is not apartments. This is single owner. Maybe there's going to be some rental allowed with the CC&Rs, but it's not going to be a for sale product. There's a lot of, we took a look at the open space on this common area lot. It's going to be 10%, actually it's a little bit more than 10% of the open space, so we're meeting the city code here, and that open space, it's not going to be a pickleball or anything like that. It's going to be a shade structure that would be tailored to the 55 and older demographics.
You have 5 minutes remaining.
Okay, thank you. Talking about the connections to Dorman, we've got a lot of walkability here. This is a great neighborhood. This is going to add to that. We're going to have that curb and sidewalk. I'm going to move a little bit forward. This is showing that locations of those other properties. The top area one is Wilson Elementary. These other arrows point to churches and assisted living facilities and other areas that are just going to be necessary for, or actually great enhancements for the neighborhood. Really want to talk about really quickly the issue. There was a lot of comments about the water, sewer, and pressurized irrigation. There was comments about, oh, this is going to have an impact on the water table. This is going to be connected to city services, city water, city sewer. There's not going to have any impact on the water table since it is Caldwell City Water. Water rights are already here in place in beneficial use. That's going to be transitioned from probably a lower usage because the residential use is going to be lower than the existing agricultural use for the property. And we're going to have a 12-inch water main that's going to be connected to the development and looped per city engineering recommendations and requirements. Fire and police services are within 2 miles of the property. There was no comments from the city, from the fire department, negative comments. There were no comments from the police department at all. So there's no adverse comments from any taxing districts. And there's no floodplain and environmental constraints with the property. It's just very flat. I don't know if you know the lay of the land over there, but there's no topographical issues with the property. Again, the issue with the property, there were always some concerns about traffic. There's no traffic study required because of the size of the development here, but I don't think and there's no comments or concerns from Highway District Number 4 concerning the property. With that, my conclusion would be meets all, even the city staff indicated, and I agree that this project does not, meets all city requirements, and I think the materials in the staff report are a little bit more robust than I did having this presentation, but there's a lot more goals and policies that are met with this application. And I think I really want to end on the fact that this is a great product for Caldwell, having that 55 and over product that is going to be available. It's been very successful in other areas with this developer, and I think it's going to be a great product for the town. With that, I'll allow staff to make their presentation, and if they have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commission. Just for the record, Joe Dodson, Principal Planner here at the City of Caldwell, 205 South 6th Avenue. I'll try not to hit on everything that the applicant did and keep it succinct and just kind of hit the main points that staff reviews when we review these annexations and plats. So again, Summit Grove is the application before you, ANN 25-09 and SPP 2512. The site is located on approximately 4.63 acres near the intersection of Dorman and Linden. The specific address is 2615 Dorman. All surrounding uses are single-family residential with varying lot sizes. Some are also located in the county, but majority of the adjacent sites are annexed into the city. In addition, Farmway Road is to the west. Farmway Road is obviously considered a major north-south vehicular corridor through both the city and the county. And so, hence, that's why it's being widened at this time. It is understood to be a major corridor through the city. As far as approved developments, the applicant stole this from my staff report, but they're welcome to use it. It is just showing what's approved and relevant within the area. These are for residential applications. The applicant noted number 1, which is directly to the west. That is true. They have, not just have they resubmitted to revise the plat, the original plat has actually expired. So they'll have to come through in order to subdivide that anyways. They'll have to do a new plat regardless of what they propose. As far as the comp plan, as noted, neighborhood 2 is the designation. As you can see on the map, it's the only designation really near. Right outside of view on the west, there is neighborhood 1, I believe, pretty much right where the left line is. And that's just a lower density transitioning into the ag land that we know exists out there. Neighborhood 2 is the primary residential place type within Caldwell. It's the primary place type within the city, period. It encompasses residential areas that provide an array of low and medium density housing options. The neighborhoods are located outside of most commercial centers, but they should also be connected to nearby services. It is, as I noted, the most prevalent place type and covers areas between all of the major centers. These areas are supposed to be developed with highly connected developments and allow for a variety of housing options. In general, less dense housing is found in areas away from major roadways, and as you get closer to major roadways, an increase in density is anticipated. Something else I would like to discuss is what we call a health intersection that's in the staff or within the comp plan. I don't know if you guys have noticed that in the new comp plan that we got. It's important to note, just because it connects how healthy living in general is connected to the future land use. So neighborhood 2 is where most Caldwell residents live, being the most prevalent place type. Proximity to healthy choices, including biking and walking, can improve health outcomes. Short block lengths are anticipated with street trees and cohesive and human scale design of buildings. And they can increase the likelihood that people will opt into walking and biking in their neighborhood rather than vehicular use. Overall, within the neighborhood 2 place type, residential projects are allowed to be 2 to 8 units per acre. The applicant has proposed 6.9, 32 units on 4.63 acres, which is considered a medium density residential project. The property is currently located within the county, is not part of the city, but it is within the area of city impact, hence the annexation request. The applicant is requesting R2, which on the map on the right would be the yellow. It is clear that R2 is not nearly directly nearby, but it is within a mile, both to the north and the east. There's also some R3, which is the purple, as you can see, which I believe that has the assisted living facility and some other higher density projects further to the east there. Staff does also want to note, R2 does not mean 2 units per acre. R2 does also not mean twice the density of R1. It is simply a designation of a zoning. We could call it R73 if we wanted. It doesn't necessarily matter. It is more about just, this is the second residential density that we have for the zoning. So it really just dictates the housing types, so the land uses, and it also dictates the dimensional standards, so lot size, setbacks, building height. So I just want to make that clear. Specific request, as noted, is an annexation, and then a preliminary plat that consists of single-family attached townhomes, i.e. townhomes, consisting of 32 total lots. As you can see, the very southwest corner of the site has the existing single-family home. The rest are in 2 to 4 unit attached single-family lots. Within the R2 zoning district, single-family attached townhomes are an allowed use, so there's no additional special use permit or anything required. They're just permitted by right. Within the city's land use schedule, the proposed land uses fall under single-family detached, obviously, but also dwelling, single-family townhouse 3 or less attached, and dwelling, single-family townhouse 4 or more attached. The project has been reviewed against all zoning and dimensional standards, and as noted in the staff report, they comply with all of those requirements. As a basis, this would include a review against setbacks, building height, utilities, lot sizes, land use, parking, landscaping, and open space, just to name some of them. It is also important to point out the applicant has proposed 2 additional factors that are atypical for, honestly, both Caldwell and this site. That would be that they're proposing all single-story structures, as seen in these elevations here. And the max height is 18.5 feet, which is shorter than most of the adjacent homes, from what I understand. And the applicant has specifically proposed this as a 55 and older community. Nope, too far. There we go. The subject site was reviewed by the engineering department for access, utilities, etc. There has been deemed that there is adequate access, especially because it's connecting 2 local streets, would just improve overall connectivity through and between subdivisions. All utilities are available to the subject site, as noted, and no TIS, no traffic impact study was required because they're only proposing 32 lots, which the threshold is either 100 dwelling units and or 100 vehicle trips within a peak hour, which 32 single-family homes do not generate anywhere close to those numbers. As far as the public hearing noticing, we noticed the hearing and the site per state statute. We received 2 agency comments back, one from Highway District 4 and one from ITD. Highway District 4 just noted that the Dorman right-of-way should be 60 feet rather than 53 feet. That was a discrepancy between the engineering memo and Highway District 4. The applicant has responded and said they can accommodate the 60 feet, and engineering will update their report prior to the city council meeting, so there should be no issue there. ITD's comments were that they had no comments, so that was the only thing they said. Oh, there were multiple comments received in opposition. I don't know the total number at this time, but it was well over a dozen, if not more. And there was also within that a petition that you guys saw that had multiple of the neighbors in opposition, and I know they'll talk tonight about their concerns. I guess with the comments, I did want to touch on a few things that are more planning oriented rather than just the applicant, just to make sure you guys are clear as well as the public. The main ones are, there were some references to the 2040 comp plan. That comp plan is no longer relevant for the site. That was the old comp plan that we had that was adopted from 2019 to 2025. We adopted a new comp plan in February of last year, I guess now it is. We're in 2026 already. And it is the county. I don't even know the zoning of the county. It's either ag or whatever they call R1. So there were comments about, oh, it's only supposed to be 2 lots or 5 lots or something, that because they're annexation requests, what the county would or would not allow is irrelevant to our review. As far as schools, the school district didn't send a letter, probably due to just 30 single-family homes. However, if you use the student generation that I'm aware of, which is typically 0.3 students per single family, if this was a regular single family, it would be roughly 8 to 10 students generated by this. That's something that they typically have always said they can accommodate easily between projects. However, being 55 and older, you would also assume less students generated by that. Not always, but that's just what they do with their student generation rates. And then lastly, reiterating what was mentioned in the engineering memo regarding water. They would connect to city services. There would not be any wells on site other than potentially for irrigation if the existing home has a well. Service for potable water for each house has to be through the city. And there are no water issues. There are no water pressure issues in this area that I'm aware of. And it would not affect, from previous discussions, would not affect the water table due to where most individual county home wells are located at a depth that are not close to what the city well depths are. So that was discussed in other projects further out from the city center, but I just wanted to reiterate to commission that that's not a concern of the engineering department. And so with that, staff does recommend, if the commission recommends approval of the annexation and preliminary plat request, that it be subject to the findings of facts, conclusions of law in order of decision. And I will stand for questions, or if you have any for the applicant, they can come back up too.
Thank you, Joe. Commissioners, do we have any questions?
I have a few.
Okay.
And maybe I'm mishearing, and I think you, Joe, you and also the presenter, is it 22 or 32 lots?
32 total. So 31 new, and then the existing single-family detached.
So the existing single-family detached counts for a few of the, because I mean, looking at the numbers on the maps and everything, I only see 22, and so that's.
Oh, no, there's 32 total. The 32nd is the existing single-family home, which is the big box. And then all the other ones are single-family attached. So the dashed lines are like 3 on the north side, and there's a couple doubles. So those are individual lots. It's a for-sale product. So there's 31 of those total,
Okay.
within 11 physical structures that you would see,
Okay. And no two stories of any kind,
all single-story.
and that can't change, even though it's an R2, which an R2 would allow for that or not?
R2 has a max height of 40 feet.
40 feet.
Which
Would be
theoretically you can
two-story.
get 3-story and 40 feet. However, the applicant has specifically proposed single-story, and because of that, I have included a condition within the staff report that states that they have to keep it single-story. And so when the building permits were to come in, if this were to get approved by council, we would verify that, and if they're 2 stories, and they're not getting their building permit.
Okay. And you spoke about the 18-foot of frontage, which is normally smaller than what is normally allowed, but this is kind of a specific community. So what's the normal allowance for frontage?
So, apologies. 18.5 was the building height.
Okay.
The width of the properties, I can't remember off the top of my head actually, but I believe they vary from
Size.
25-ish to 36, I believe. I'm sure the applicant knows off the top of their head, it's their product, but there is some discrepancy there between what R2 allows, and that is very specific.
Okay.
And that is because within the code, within the R2 and R1 zones, you can do single-family attached and utilize the lot size and frontage allowances for the R3 zone. And that is because if you have R2 even, which is 4,000 square foot minimum lot size, it's very difficult to do any attached product with a 4,000 square foot minimum lot size. It just doesn't usually work. It's too big in order to accommodate builders for those lot sizes. Otherwise, you're gonna have a really deep front or really deep backyard, et cetera, and it usually just doesn't work. So because of that, we allow basically the allowance to use the R3, which is a 2,000 square foot minimum lot size and a 20-foot minimum lot frontage, and they're over both of those on any of the lots. They're actually pretty close to the R2. I think their average lot size is like 3,600-ish. So they're on the bigger end of that anyways.
Okay.
But they are compliant with the code.
That's questions I had. for the planning.
Okay. Anything else?
My question's for the applicant, so I can wait.
Okay. I think we're good.
Okay.
If the applicant would come back up real quick. Thank you.
Yeah, Chair.
Yeah.
Sorry, Harmon. You said that these were for 55 and up. Are there any accessibilities built inside of the homes? I'm not sure that I saw anything that said that they're for like 80. Is there ADA stuff being built into these homes for them being able to stay in place?
I don't have any, anything specific that would be, ADA, well, it would be all ADA compliant. There's no,
Like the doors would have ramps to wheel into the front door,
That-
like
that
any
is-
kind of like retire in place, like I now need a wheelchair or something, or some
so-
kind of things like that.
no, there's nothing like that. It would be just a typical residential product. So it would have to be, if it's going to be designed or modified to accommodate, wider door widths or to have a ramp, that would be up to the individual that owns the property.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yep.
So building off that, that is something I keyed onto. You very much presented this as a plus 55 community. One thing you even pointed out is school zones and everything like that. Churches, I understand, school zones to a plus 55. Is there any kind of stipulation? There are communities that are specific to seniors and everything. This is not one of them, is that correct?
It is 55 and over, so it would be.
Like that would be a limitation, you must be that to be an applicant for purchase?
To be one who, the owner, yes, that would be in the CCNRs. They've been mentioned, it would be a deed restriction, so just either a CCNR restriction that would be then incorporated by the deed, but yeah, it would be restricted. The ownership would be limited.
Limited to that only, and if the applicant didn't fit that, they would not be accepted.
Correct, yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
And
Again, I
then-
want to make sure that's not for everyone who lives there, it's just the
Right.
owner itself, yes.
The owner itself, yeah, exactly. But speaking on to the ADA, speaking to staff, with that restriction, would that require some more of those ADA standards to be implemented into the structures? With that being brought in?
Mr. Chair, Commission, from our standpoint, no, that would not be a requirement. It'd be just per the building code as they construct them. There's, from my understanding, not any ADA requirement period with the building code for residential. It's just gonna be per owner. I would also like to state this is not a ding on the project or any 55 and older community. It is difficult for planning and zoning to regulate the 55 and older communities unless there's a couple options. One is through the CCNRs, two being actually deed restricted. Deed restricted things are very difficult also. The CCNRs is something that would be actually fairly easy to track, so with their building permit or whatever, we could require that they submit CCNRs to show that they have that stipulation within them, and then that would give the city that clarity that they are sticking to what they're saying now. Admittedly, that was not a condition placed by staff. Commission can add that through any motion, even if it's a recommendation of denial, you can still put that as a condition that you would like to see moving forward. So just letting commission know.
Anything else?
Yeah, but I got more.
You got more?
I
Go
got
ahead.
a
Yeah,
couple more.
no, you're
Let's-
good.
So that's my question for engineering. On the roadways onto Dorman and everything, is there any kind of ingress egress lanes coming on and off of Dorman?
Commissioner Vance, no, there are any slip lanes, I assume is
slip
what you're
lanes, yeah.
thinking, yeah, for the right-hand turn lanes. Dorman is a local road. We
Mm-hmm.
typically don't require those types of turn lanes on our local roads.
And secondly, when we pointed out that the staff, there was no traffic study required for this based on the size and everything, when typically not based on a project, but when typically per roadway would we normally see a roadway report that we would expect?
Yes, our code requires a traffic impact study to be completed when the vehicle trips are 100 vehicle trips. And so you normally see that when you have 100 dwelling units,
Okay.
is normally when we start seeing those traffic
Normally,
impact studies.
So it doesn't have to do with the addition of the 32 dwelling units, it has to do with in general, if it meets 100, then it would initiate a traffic study.
That is correct.
Okay. I think that's my step.
You good? All right, thank you.
Thank you all, thank you.
All right, we're gonna go to public testimony. We're gonna start out with in favor, and I'm gonna apologize right now, some of the last names I can't read great, so I apologize if I hack your name up, don't get mad. In favor, does not wish to speak, Tiffany Llanos? Llanos? Okay, Llanos, okay. And you don't want to speak, correct? Okay. Then we go to one that does not want to speak, Tim Mukwa. Okay, thank you. And let's. And Matthew Parks wishes to speak.
I'm the applicant.
Oh, okay, gotcha. That works. June Dugan does not wish to speak. Okay. Ray Dugan does not wish to speak, but is in favor. Okay, that's all in favor. There is no neutral, so we will start with opposed. Anita McNeil. State your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Anita McNeil. I live at 3215 Dorman Avenue. I live in one of the original houses that was done before all the development was there. My issue is what they were talking about as far as the traffic is concerned. I don't think nobody has gone out there and saw how many people walk along Dorman that has every other street has a sidewalk that was new development. There is no sidewalk there, and we have a lot of seniors walking on that Dorman. Because Farmway has been closed for almost over a year for the expansion and their mistakes, a lot of traffic has been on Dorman. Also, in front of my house, there is an open canal. In the 14 years that I have lived there have been 7 trucks, service trucks, a couple of cars, and about 14 passenger trucks that have fallen or driven to or slid into that canal, which is being destroyed basically because of the dirt that's falling in there. As far as your findings, as far as water is concerned, there is a lot of houses that are still running on wells. I don't think you know which ones are. I do. On the other hand, because Farmway has been closed, there have been over 50 vehicles between the hours of 8 in the morning and 7 at night, driving up and down Dorman. This housing unit is not going to make it any better because you did not take into account on the weekends, because of the church, there are 30 parking spaces in the front and 30 parking spaces in the back. 5 times during the weekend, people park in those parkings, and we have an overflow that goes down to the corner of Dorman, plus up the street past Cowboy Church, where they're parking on the streets. That also blocks the vision of anybody turning on from Dorman onto Linden onto Farmway. Okay. Besides the people, there are bike riders and there are kids. It doesn't matter if this development doesn't have any room for kids. There are kids there, and they ride their scooters, bicycles, whatever. Plus, we have school buses that come at least 4 times on the stop at Dorman. Unfortunately,
Go ahead and wrap up what you're saying.
for what I'm actually saying is my front windows actually look out, and I can sit there in my living room and count the cars, count the people that walk up and down or drive up and down Dorman. And I also see how ambulances and fire trucks have a problem, especially during the busy time.
Okay, thank you. Roger Howe does not wish to speak. Is that correct? Okay. Barbara Pike said maybe.
I would like to pass for now.
Okay. Marion Gordon, is that, yep, you don't want to speak? Okay. David Smart does not wish to speak. Tanya Rojas does not wish to speak. Roy Rojas does not wish to speak. Rebecca Hunter does not wish to speak. Wayne Hunter would like to speak.
I would like to speak, but I know we have another person that needs to leave, and I would like to take my time to Teresa Waterman.
So what was that?
You'll wait, you got time to wait? Okay.
Oh, yeah, I can do whatever you want, so.
I just wanted to give her an opportunity to speak while she's here because she needs to leave, so.
Okay. Your name and address,
Wayne
please.
Hunter, 3323 Dorman Avenue.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, start with, I'll ask a question. You have not talked any about parking for those residents, none whatsoever. If you have 20 foot of road frontage, how are you gonna have that many cars parked in that amount of distance? There's not enough room there. I hadn't even thought about that till they talked about the road frontage for that. Many of us here tonight that are against this R2 zoning, bought our homes here because it's a rural area. We like that rural atmosphere, and we want to keep it that way. Most of us have lived here 20 years or more. A lot of us have been here a long time. Myself, I've been here almost 25 years in that house. And I know a lot of my neighbors have been here a lot longer than that, and because of their age are unable to be here tonight. But they are supporting us in being against this development. Most of us know each other because we've been here this long. We know who's walking up and down our street. We know them by name. We'd like to keep it that way. There's been a lot of talk about water table. City gets its water out of the ground just like all of us that live in that area that have our own wells. You can't tell me that you're gonna add a bunch of homes and it's not gonna affect the water table. It's gonna affect it. This is gonna be a precedence for other homes, other developments that the same developer is trying to do. We don't want that many homes in that small of an area. We want our open spaces. When I moved to Caldwell, and I still do some, but I don't do it as much as I did because it's scary. I used to ride my horse from my home all the time. Not a problem, but there is getting to be so much traffic, and that I cannot do that anymore. I live in the county where I should be able to do that and not have to worry about all the cars. The people that drive up and down Dorman, even before Farmwood went into under construction, do not give any courtesy to people walking or with horses or bicycles. They go by 50, 55 miles an hour sometimes and they don't even move over. They act like they own the whole town. I don't think your roads and your enforcement for law enforcement is up to par to support that kind of development. You talked about, they talked about lost my train of thought now. The homes only being 55 plus. What's to keep that from being changed after they get the R2 zoning? I don't see anything in there that will absolutely stop them from changing and being able to put in taller homes, more families. What's to keep them from selling those units to other people besides what's in the 55 community?
Okay, your time's up now. Thank you,
Okay.
though. Appreciate it. Ma'am, you have to leave? What was your name? Teresa Waterman. Okay, you want to come on up real quick? State your name and address, please.
Teresa Waterman, 1215 West Linden.
You got 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'd like to thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board on behalf of the Better Neighborhood Incorporated, which represents neighbors on the street of Linden, Dorman, Marshall, Quail, Meadow Street, Easy Street, Windsong's Court, and more are coming in every day. We would like to thank the commissioners for listening to our objections to the Summit Grove subdivision. First, I would like to submit for the record over 100 petitions, signatures from our neighborhoods, asking the commissioners to recommend this project be denied and that it should not be rezoned from R1 to R2. Currently, you guys have to annex it, and they're asking for R2. Everything around it is R1. The area of Caldwell is defined by the Caldwell City Planning and Zoning is as follows. The site and surrounding zoning classifications. This is the neighborhood we're talking about. North, R1, neighborhood residential and county zoning. South, R1, neighborhood residential. East, R1, neighborhood residential. West, R1, neighborhood residential. Site and surrounding land use existing. Site, single-family residential. North, single-family residential. South, single-family residential. East, single-family residential. West, single-family residential. The city also noted that this site, as well as most of Caldwell, has been designated in the comprehensive plan, the land use designation, as Neighborhood 2. The Neighborhood 2 designation in the comprehensive plan certainly cannot mean one size fits all. Because a community of homeowners directly impacted by Summit Grove subdivision proposal, we're scratching our heads wondering how this project could have gained approval. On the City of Caldwell P&Z project specifics, it says the existing city or county zoning designation of property surrounding this parcel that you guys are taking up for consideration, north of the site, low density, south of the site, low density, east of the site, low density plus county rural, west of the site, low density. Although city planners have recommended this project fits within this space, our neighborhood strongly disagrees. This neighborhood is clearly defined as R1, single-family residential, low density. All of us that are here tonight and those that are not here but have signed the petition bought into this area of Caldwell because it is low density. It is still rural in feeling with large lots and open spaces. We understand that growth has come to Caldwell and that this area is going to be developed. We are simply asking the commission to appreciate that there are areas in Caldwell that have been historically low density, and homeowners that bought into these areas should have the backing of our city to protect our communities. We are asking that you honor the commitment to the current zoning in this neighborhood by keeping it as it is.
I'm gonna need you to wrap it up real quick, though. You had 3 minutes.
Single-family residential R1 low density. Thank you.
Thank you.
And may I submit this? Because when we sent those signatures in, we only had about 40, and now we have almost 110 signatures. And these are people that live in that area that do not want this
Thank you.
project to be brought in.
Thank you, ma'am. Is Lynn Waterman with you too?
Yes,
Did you want to speak also?
I do.
Do you have to leave too?
No.
Oh. All right. Well, then I'll go back to the other side after you're done.
Do you want me to go ahead and speak?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
I
My
just didn't know
name-
if you had to leave with her,
Okay,
so.
so, my name's Lynn Waterman. I also live at 1215 West Linden, and that's where my parents built that house in 1960, and then after I was away, I was able to buy the house back from my mother. So, anyway, I've been here for, one way or the other, for more than 60 years. just as I listen to this, one of the biggest concerns is that this is just one subdivision, but the developer is also going to develop across the street. And that was my mother's property. When she sold it, she understood that there would be 29 homes on that property. And now they're wanting 68 homes on the property. So it's not just this 32 homes, it's the 32 homes plus the 68 homes. So they're really talking about 100 homes on less than 20 acres. And if you have 2 to 2.5 cars, I don't know why they wouldn't do a traffic study, but you're talking about 250 more cars on Dorman. And that's a big deal. Dorman is just a narrow corridor. And there's not enough room for them to widen it. Without moving houses, there's not enough room to widen it to accommodate that number of cars. So, as my wife had said, if you go the whole way around that property, if you look at the 5-acre plots the whole way around it, there are 58 houses on 45 acres there. So the average lot size is 0.78 acres, which is 5 times the size of the 0.14 acres that SI Construction is asking for. So I'll just read this part. It's very important to understand that the developer purchased the land knowing that it was designated Ag and R1, single-family residential. We're not asking to take away anything from the value of the land that the developer purchased. It is the developer who is asking the zoning commission to give him value that he didn't purchase. That value will come from every homeowner and ag landowner in the area in the form of higher taxes to pay for increased needs for school, police, and fire. And they can say that it won't, but development almost never pulls its own weight. They always end up falling back on the existing landowners for increased taxes. There will be a lower water table because the city does, like Wayne said, they get their water out of the water table just like we do. More noise, more crowded streets, and more traffic congestion. In short, this is another way of saying that it's going to lower our property values. So anyway, I would respectfully ask that you strongly consider not allowing the designation to be changed from R1 to R2.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So hold on, Harmon. Can you come back up? Wait, I have a quick question for you. Sorry, I don't know what to call you other than just Harmon. So if you wanted us to do something to try and meet a happy medium, are you wanting them to be R1? As staff did indicate that we can't control what the county does with their zoning.
Yeah.
So you're wanting R1 and you're wanting 3
We know
dwelling
there's
units?
going to be development, and so R1 would be acceptable.
So the max amount of dwelling units for R1 is 3. Is that what you guys are looking for? Approximately 3 dwelling units per acre?
Yeah.
So right now it's close to
Yeah, and I
7.
mean, of course, the more important one is the one that my mother sold. It was, it was 29 and now they're saying 68.
Yeah,
And
but
so
we can't talk about something that's not
Yeah, okay,
yet
but what I'm
done,
saying
so-
is that from a traffic standpoint and from a water standpoint, it's all one thing. It's the same developer. And so I know that that's not coming up tonight, but it's not reasonable to look at those two developments separately. They all feed onto Dorman.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I was just from your guys' whole perspective, is you would like it to go down to about half of what they have to 3 dwelling units.
Correct.
Would be your general goal. Okay, thank you, Harmon.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
All right.
I just wanted to have a point of clarity, I guess. The old R1 was 3 units per acre. New R1 doesn't necessarily dictate that. It would
Yeah,
be.
it's 0 to 2, and then it says 3 dwelling units if considered area development.
Yeah, that's not R1, that's the future land use, which is neighborhood 1, which is not on the property. It would still be, it's the same designation regardless of the zoning, meaning that it's still 2 to 8 units per acre is allowed. The R1 zone could be requested, yes, and that has a minimum lot size of 8,000 square feet, unless they do single-family attached and they can do basically the same exact project in R1. But maybe you lose a unit or 2 because it would only allow 3 units attached, not 4. So it's very nuanced in that, but it's not gonna get down to 3 units per acre. Even if you did single-family detached of a minimum lot size of 8,000, that's approximately 5 units per acre. So that would also be more than what I'm hearing. So I just wanted to be very clear about the R1 is not 3 units per acre.
Okay,
All
so
right.
then, yeah.
Let's move on. So we have Brad Crenshaw, who wishes to speak.
Brad Crenshaw, 2909 Dorman.
You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Just a couple quick things. I think he kind of covered something there that I know you guys can't go into it, but the other across the street does affect it. I could really give a crap less about this one. It's the next one coming that we worry about, and it does just set a precedent for it. The other thing I didn't hear about this is, what about irrigation? It's a joke now. What's it gonna be when we hook all this other stuff up to it? And, I'm with everybody else. The quality of our life is good right now. And if we see this 55 community, which I think, you know, I really don't have a problem with that, but if a rich, call it 55-year-old, comes in and buys 10 of them and rents them out, they can't do anything about that. I don't really want to be around a glorified apartment complex. So those are my concerns.
Yeah.
Appreciate the time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Gail Gordon. State your name and address,
Gail
sir, and you have
Gordon.
3 minutes.
Gail Gordon, 2510 Marshall Place, Caldwell, Idaho, 83605. I'm going to reiterate just what the young man said just before me, before I start what I have to say. I agree with him. It's ownership of 55 plus, but there needs to be a stipulation in there that cannot have anybody come in 55 and younger to rent those places. This is not a rental business, it's an ownership. Should be a stipulation on ownership versus being able to rent. There's nothing saying that the person that's putting in this complex isn't gonna do just that, have himself buy those units and then rent them out to be able to gain a greater profit. I'd like to start by saying I'm not against development. I do believe that the housing development needs to be respectful of the existing neighbors around it. To put townhouses in an established residential area with individual homes on roughly 0.25 to 2+ acres is wrong. At this time, I ask you to respect the voices of current ownership of people that live in Caldwell and Canyon County who pay our taxes diligently. Please support us to maintain this in a 0.25 or greater lot size designated R1. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Merritt, you didn't mark if you wanted to speak or not speak?
Can I?
You sure can. State your name and address, and you got 3 minutes.
Okay, Jennifer Merritt, 2815 Dorman Avenue. I bought my house when it was being built, so it's been a minute. And this property that they're trying to do it on the 4.63 acres, a half an acre of that is the house that's already pre-existing. So actually, they're trying to put in 32 duplex, triplexes, townhouses, whatever you want to call them. They're about 1,000 square feet, and stuff them into basically what was supposed to be for cows, a house with a big yard. But if they put more properties in there, and what they want to do across the street, I know, is not the same, but it is the same because it's the same company. And the first go around in the beginning, whoever owned it said it was going to be nice properties, comparable. I don't want construction, but it would be nice. Now they're pushing over 70 with what looks like an apartment building in the middle. So between under 500 feet from my house, they want to stuff in 100 residences. Farmway was supposed to be closed 1 year. It's been over 3. So the traffic on our street is insane. The church parking goes down our street sometimes. I just don't see there's no way we can have that kind of those kind of numbers and still feel safe and like our property is worth something, because it won't be if it's just facing a bunch of apartments. And that's about it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Randy Seenard? Seward, sorry. That's why I apologized ahead of time.
No problem. Randy Seward, 2916 Quail Meadow Loop. So I have a long list of points, but the majority of them have been covered by most of the people here, so I won't be repetitive. I also am against the, R2. I mean, it's been stated in depth that we're surrounded by R1. So, I mean, it speaks for itself. We don't want R2. But it seems somehow this has passed. My biggest concern at this point is accountability. I mean, we're looking at stuff that's gonna impact our sewer, fire hydrants, irrigation, our water. You're not even doing a traffic analysis. That's all fine. But I guess I wanna figure out where the infrastructure analysis actually occurred. Does the city actually do some type of study with methodology and analysis? Because where's the accountability at the end of this? We start getting our tax bills, those have gone up, and so we can go back and look at the study the city did and then try to figure out where this went wrong. So are these reports available to the public? Can we go to these different departments and get these reports? As far as the water, fire hydrants, sewer, things like that?
Let's ask staff.
We do complete master studies of our water system, our transportation system, and our sewer system. We do have most of this information available on public record. However, we do have a difficult time releasing the full study for our water and our sewer system, just simply because for the protection and the safety of our infrastructure, there is some information that we cannot release to the public. Other jurisdictions have had tampering with water and sewer systems through information being released in the master plan. So I'm happy to discuss our master plans with you in depth, but there is some information that I cannot fully release through public records requests. Our transportation system, we do have the CATS plan, the Caldwell Area Transportation System Plan, as well as our capital improvement plan. Both of those documents are fully available through public record request.
Okay, so can you give me like a redacted version of the things we need to know?
I can probably provide a version that's just specific to your area. So yes, it probably would be a redacted version of the full report.
Okay, and so I should start with you, Holly Hart?
Yeah, so the best place to start would be through...
Holly Hart, sorry.
No worries. The best place to be would be through our clerk's office. You can submit a public records request.
Okay.
And then that request will come into my office and we can work with you on, to provide that information.
Okay, and that will also state whether the developer's paying for it or the city is paying for anything?
So it will not specifically it will not get into specific developments. We complete these master plans. Typically we update them every couple of years. So they're not updated with every single development, but we do provide this information to our modeling consultants. So in the background, we continue to update our models, and then we only release updates to our master plan every few years. So we don't have it specific. Our master plan isn't going to be specific for the individual development, but I'd be happy to show you the water and the sewer systems. If you wanted to just meet and go over it, I could probably talk through it with you a little bit more in depth on the individual developments.
Okay, and are the city ordinances or laws, is there anything different from the state of Idaho as far as like building and?
The state?
Yeah, so are you conforming to all state regulations and codes, or does the city of Caldwell have anything different?
So as far as zoning and
Things
everything,
like that, yeah. So if I'm using state law, would that apply to?
state law does not speak to specifics. They leave it very vague, especially in the state of Idaho. There's a lot of private property rights involved there. They have very broad parameters that they provide cities and say, go do your thing. And so we are compliant with state statute 100%. And
So
we
just the
cannot.
framework, yes.
Yes, the framework. And
Okay.
cities cannot be less restrictive than the state, but they can be more restrictive, which typically every city is. Hence why some people don't want to annex into a city, but would prefer to be a county, because crap rolls uphill in that way.
Understood.
And then we do have our standards for construction. So there is the International Building Code, and there is the ISPWC, which is the Idaho Standard Works for Public Construction, or Idaho Standard for Public Works Construction. We do provide supplemental specifications, as Joe mentioned. They tend to be more strict than the state rather than less strict.
Great, okay. Well, the documentation will speak for itself, so, great.
Thank you. So is it Michael Bashir? Am I saying that right? Yeah. Okay, you don't wish to speak? Yeah. Okay. Tamara Zimmer does not wish to speak. Okay. Laura Shannon does not wish to speak.
I do have a question.
Okay. Come to the podium.
My
State
name
your
is Laura Shannon, and I live at 4707 Middlesboro Way. And while I was listening, Joe said that the residential one, or R1, it has 2 to 8 units, is that correct?
Mr. Chair, the whole area of this area of the city is 2 to 8 units per acre per the future land use.
Okay, I guess I'm just wondering if the commission has the discretion to say this area, it's appropriate for 3 units per acre in this area, even though that broader range is acceptable. You don't have to answer that for me, but it's just a question I have, and thank you.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, but this one I can't read it all, so I'm going to read your address to come speak. 3807 Norman? You don't need to speak? Okay. Jenny Howe doesn't wish to speak. Bill Pike. State your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
Yeah, my name is Bill Pike. I live at 2722 Quail Meadow Loop. I've lived in Caldwell since 1978, and I oppose the building of this 32-unit complex. The wife and I both went over and looked at an area that they built sometime back in Nampa, and they said that this would be a replica of what we looked at, and she has some photos on her phone, but I don't have the luxury of putting it up on the screen. But these apartments or residents are pretty close in proximity, and it would just be a nightmare with the traffic, and it's just something that I can't see happening in my neighborhood. You know, my home values I consider very nice, and I'd like to keep them that way. Most of the homes in Quail Meadow are $500,000 to $1 million. And I want to keep those figures high, and I don't mind paying taxes on it, but it's just, we just don't have the room for 31 units, plus the one that they actually bought and didn't tell the homeowner what their intent was. Had she had known that, she wouldn't have sold it to them. But now we have to come here and oppose something that I hope the planning and zoning people will take into consideration. We only get 3 minutes, they get 30. So just take in mind that this is our city, and think of the people. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Jessica Hunter does not wish to speak. Okay. Alicia Schwank? Oh, you don't? Okay. Is it Christopher Altor? Do you wish to speak? Okay.
Christopher Altor, 3308 Dorman Avenue. I'd like to know if there's any kind of big issue with safety going into this subdivision or new accommodation into this area. I'm a father, my son sits at the back of the courtroom, or the room back here. There is no stop sign other than Linden and U-Stick. After that, it's a 1 mile strip, it's basically a drag strip. He walks to a bus stop, there's no sidewalk, there's nothing paved, it's not marked. There's nothing on that street indicating it is a bus route. There are a multitude of buses that go up and down this street. Adding in this many homes with the new subdivisions that are going in is going to increase risk either to him or anyone else walking down that street. There are no paved sidewalks. There is a canal there that is filled through during irrigation season. Going forward, I don't believe this is a great addition to our community there. I understand it's a rural area, and I understand that's why we moved there. But going forward, adding this into the area we live in is going to be a big impact on safety. And there is nothing determining whether or not they're going to be adding any sort of speed bumps, traffic signals, or anything along our street. So I hope that everyone understands going through with this, that it's going to be a huge safety issue in our community. With that being said, the other issues that we have down there with the age restriction in this community that they're trying to build, like other people have said in this meeting tonight, there is nothing stopping or preventing this from being subleased or leased out or rented, increasing traffic. So I hope that is taken into consideration when this is being thought through every other development in that area. There are kids that bike and scooter down that street. My son and his friends go up and down that street, and every day I see them do that, I am horrified that someone's gonna be speeding down there without any indication that there's no crosswalks. Like I said, there's nothing there indicating any kind of pedestrian safety. So with this being added, it's just gonna create a huge risk for people walking, biking, even just driving down that street. Like I said, it's a 1 mile corridor. So anyone on that street is taking a risk when they add in more homes with people that either will respect the traffic laws or don't. So I hope that's considered when any new development, not just this, goes in. That being said, I hope that you guys consider this to be a major issue going forward. But that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Waterman does not wish to speak.
I have a question. Can I ask a question?
Come and speak, Say your name and address.
Susan Waterman, 16455 West Linden Street. I guess I have a question for the staff. So you said that you don't do a traffic study unless you have like a certain number of homes going in. But when you have a place like this where you have literally subdivisions going in all around, do you take into consideration that if you combine the numbers of houses, you could have 100 houses and then need a study? So I guess I'm asking, do you take that into consideration, that you're not just talking about one subdivision, you're talking about multiple subdivisions that are going to equal more than that number that you need to do a study?
Great question. When staff evaluates a single application, we can only evaluate it through the lens of the single application that's in front of us. So we do not take into account the other homes of whether they're existing or proposed. We only evaluate if a traffic impact study is necessary based on the application before us. Now, if there is a study that would be required, then that is when we take into account existing homes and other proposed developments. That's why we tend to just lean back on our master plans, our Caldwell Area Transportation System plan, to help us determine the traffic in the area.
I see. So with the city council then, is that something that you would consider changing that traffic study requirement so that it would include considering all of the subdivisions that are going to be going in and not just the one specific one that's being requested?
You'll have to ask city council when you get there. This is just planning and zoning.
Okay.
So,
but I'm asking, is that something that the city can change? And then how, I guess that would have to be a request made to the city, or that's not something that you're considering? Okay.
No.
So,
No.
all right.
Sorry. Thank you, though. Is it Ben Cook? You don't want to speak? Okay. Sharon Melford does not want to speak? Okay. Nicole Altwer? Okay. Carol Eakin. State your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
I'm Carol Aiken, 2701 Bristol Avenue, and I live inside Manchester Park. I have 3 main things. Number one, this developer has been proven to be deceitful. When they bought the land, they said that they were going to build 3 houses on that acreage. Once they got what they wanted, it changed to 31 houses. Across the street, they bought it saying they were going to do 29. Now all of a sudden it's 60-something. So if you change it to R2, they are known for, once they get what they want, they change up and do something different. So I would like it to stay where it is. Also, with the traffic, they're opening up from Manchester Park. I live right on the corner of Bristol and Manchester. It's quiet there. We have a lot of kids that are in the road. We have a lot of kids that play. They're going to open that up and make that a main thoroughfare in and out of there. So you're not just looking at the 31 houses they're going to be dumping out onto Dorman. You're also talking about, because a lot of people are going to change the way they drive, they might go up to Airport or around. Now they're going to be dumping out onto Dorman because it's closer. So you've got all the people in Manchester Park also potentially dumping out onto, going through this and dumping out onto Dorman, which is going to cause a lot more traffic. And a lot more traffic on our corner, we're concerned also because of the kids that like to play. So there is that. The other thing that I'm wondering about is what other people have said. Okay, it's 55 to buy these places. Let's say people buy, like I said, 10 of them, and then rent them out to families, rent them out to younger people. We already have people that drive like crazy idiots through our subdivision. If they open that up, one, they're going to be screaming out all the way straight through, but also, who's to say that they're not going to rent their places out to families? You know, something else. It only says you have to be 55 to buy the property. If they rent it out, it could be to anybody. So, you know, you can say it's a 55 and over, but unless it is specified in there, they can rent to whoever they want. There's no protection for us. So those are my main questions. One, that this developer changes up what they do once they get what they want. And two, that opening up that traffic, it's not just those 31 houses, it's going to be a ton of people from Manchester Park traveling through there as well to get over to Farmway or whatever instead of going to where the openings are now. It's going to increase that, which I'm afraid for the kids too. And I mean, it's going to affect our quality of life as well, being on that quiet corner. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shelley Tabor, you didn't mark if you wanted to speak or not speak?
I was debating, but no, thank you.
Okay. Doug Eakin, you do not wish to speak? Gerardo Ruiz, you don't want to speak? Okay. Perry Wilson does not want to speak. Joe Wilson does not want to speak. Okay. Warren Waterman, you don't want to speak? Okay. And Andrew Hawes, and you want to speak? Just briefly. Okay. State your name, address, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name's Andrew Hawes. I live at 920 Windsong Court, which is just off of Dorman. This is my first time being at one of these meetings, so It's a fun opportunity to learn, and I appreciate your professionalism and your patience with all of us. I've been living here for about 8 years. My biggest concerns are, one, infrastructure, and two, home values. My home is my primary asset. It's the asset that is going to pay for hopefully my children's school at some point, and it matters to me. And I love our little community, that little cul-de-sac on Windsong Court, because my kids can go driving their bikes or their scooters in the road, and I don't have to worry that much. Sometimes we'll go out on Dorman on longer walks, and we'll go down Manchester. And Dorman is a small street. It's not very well marked. There's not lighting at night, so it's dark. And what they've said about it essentially being a drag race for some drivers is true. A lot of vehicles drive at high rates of speed down that road, and it's dangerous. Increasing the quantity of drivers there is concerning. And I realize this council or this board doesn't have a traffic safety study. I don't know if that's optional, and if you can request one. If you could, I would encourage you to do so. But the consequences are very, very real. Linden and Ustick, Farmway and Ustick are both very dangerous intersections. You see fatal crashes or very severe crashes there all the time. I work at the county attorney's office, and so when I'm on call, I go out to some of those. I'm here in a personal capacity, not a professional one. But I see firsthand the damage that has. And the last thing I want is that to happen to one of my kids, or one of my neighbor's kids, or one of my neighbors. The people here, I see them walking Dorman regularly. And that is a very high concern for me. Also, I know that I work hand in hand with Caldwell Police. I know how taxed they are in terms of resources, in terms of people. And I don't know that we have the infrastructure in place at this time. I'm not against development. I would encourage you to consider options for development, even these communities, once we have the infrastructure in place. I would just ask you to consider hopefully developing that and encouraging the expansion of the infrastructure before we consider the building. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that'll close public testimony. Applicant, you got 5 minutes. Please.
Thank you. Again, Matthew Parks, 251 East Front Street, Boise, Idaho, 83701. I want to start at first, big picture. We have an annexation application, and we really talk that, well, what's the standard to look at this and see if we're going to approve it or not? And the question is whether or not it's supported by the future land use map in the comp plan, which it is. I think there's no doubt with anyone's mind here that it's supported by the future land use map. So annexation, I think, yes, that's going to be approved or should be approved. It's supported by the comp plan. Then the question becomes, okay, what are we going to do as far as what zoning classification is going to be used for this property? And I think we've talked about two options, whether it's going to be R1, R2. And I think there was a lot of people complaining about the density. And I think what we have here is, well, if it's going to be R1, R2, it's going to be the same. It's essentially the same. So I think that's a lot of concerns with, well, it's going to be, it has to be different, and people are looking at the old comp plan. I understand the comp plan it was recently changed, so there's updates that people might not be following because that's not their jobs. But that's what we have, a comp plan that accounts for this development. So I think both the annexation, again, it's supported by the comp plan, and for the zoning designation, I think this is not a situation where this is going to be low income or this is going to be a parade of horribles with this development. This is going to be a very well planned out project. It's not going to be, people are talking about a lack of infrastructure, but that's all been addressed with the staff report, with our presentation today. And I think it is going to have little to no impact on the taxing districts. Otherwise, the taxing districts would have made comments to this body to say, listen, yes, this is going to be a problem for us. But there was no comments here at all. When you have no comments, that means it's essentially a de facto approval by all these taxing districts. And that's the way it kind of works out. So I think when you look at it and say, hey, we have no opposition, that means you can't, point to the fact of lack of opposition and say, no, the taxing districts are wrong because they should have said something. I want to talk about the parking issues. The parking, it's not addressed in the my presentation, and we talk about it, but there are attached garages and driveways. So for all of the units, I want to say it's more than a sufficient parking to meet code, meaning that every dwelling unit is going to have at least one parking space. So if you have a two-unit house, you're going to have, or a two-bedroom room, you're going to have two parking spaces. Or if you have a garage, you're going to have your driveway. So I think there's a lot of parking available for this project. It's not going to be a problem moving forward. I want to talk quickly about this, the fact that there's this concern that the developer pulled some kind of a fast one with the property owners. And that's just simply not true, because there was an intervening property owner. This is not when people said, oh, the developer said this was going to happen, that's not my client, that's not the applicant. That was another property owner. So when they sold that property, now it goes to my client, they own the property, and there were no guarantees to to the neighborhood or to any prior owners to make anything, developed here. I only mention that because I think there was this insinuation that there's going to be this is what's going to happen moving forward. That's simply not true. I do want to talk a little about, you mentioned that, it's going to be that 3 per acre, and so I think that has been cleared up pretty well with staff. I think there's a minimal difference between R1 and R2 for zoning, for density, just for the lot dimensions and the availability of having 4-unit fourplexes. I mean, we can work with that, but I think really it's just not really an apples and oranges kind of thing. It's this R1 and R2 is going to be very similar, whether it's going to be one or the other. There was a lot of concern with the traffic, and one last thing, note that there's an S curve in the property or in the layout, which is designed to slow traffic. That was a conscious decision. People say, hey, other neighbors are going to use this. There's other bad actors. You can't blame my client for the fact that other people in the neighborhood, probably residents of the subdivisions that are surrounding, they speed. That's not an impact that my client can control.
All right.
I'll stand for any other questions that you may have.
We're going to go to staff real quick, and then we'll come back with any questions from commissioners.
Thank you, commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a couple clarifications. I just would like you guys just to reiterate, please.
Sure.
And if you could, Joe, just between R1 and R2, I think there's a pretty big misconception.
Right.
And if you could just try to clarify that with the public.
Sure. Great question, and I understand. At this point, it's a pretty color on a map. That would be the main difference. The same exact number of units could fit an R1 or R2 on this property. And so it would not affect the density. Not based upon the request of single-family attached units. If commission or council feels differently regarding whether it should be attached or detached, obviously detached products are going to require larger lots and therefore less density. Absolutely. I think I don't want to preach, I definitely don't, but I think education is important when it comes to what we're doing in this world, and I implore residents to look it up as well. There's study after study after study in the planning world and the fiscal impact world that low density does not pay for itself. It is a drag on city services because those taxpayers tend to take more from the system than what they put in, because the cost is not adequately dispersed over the correct number of units and people. And so it doesn't matter if your house is $750,000, if it's one house versus 6 houses that are each 350, it doesn't math out. And that has been done across the state of Idaho, across the country. That there's a misconception about bigger houses mean more tax, and that's not necessarily true. So, again, I implore residents to look that up. There's, again, study after study that has talked about that. That doesn't mean the whole city has to be high-rises, that's stupid. But the concept of every lot needs to be, a third of an acre is not going to help anybody's infrastructure problem. So I did want to make that clear regarding that R1, R2 density conversation.
I appreciate that. I got one more clarification.
Sure.
And maybe two. Let's go to Haley real quick. They asked if we could request a traffic study. I don't think that's correct, is it? We can't do that, can we?
Our code does allow myself to request a traffic impact study when we see intersections of specific concern. Typically, I do recognize, and so I don't want to offend anyone by saying that Dorman Avenue intersecting with Linden or this road extending through existing residential isn't an intersection of existing concern. That's not my intent. But typically when we request traffic impact studies on development that is not required per code, it's because it's a large regional intersection that is heavily impacted. An example of this is a project over at Ustick and 10th. That project did not trigger a traffic impact study, but I did require one because Ustick and 10th is a large regional, or that intersection has a very large regional impact. So yes, I can request it, and if the commission requests that I do, I certainly will make that request. But when it's left to engineering's discretion, I typically look at the region as a whole.
Mr. Chair, further
Okay.
point on that.
Yeah.
Since commission is a recommending body, how do I put this? You could recommend, or a motion could be for continuance dependent upon a TIS. That's true. That will take months, technically, and if that's what the commission wants to do, that's fine. You can also make it a recommendation of approval or denial and say that prior to council you want that, and then if they don't do it, that's a ding against them that council will have to review. So that's another option. Whether you think that the TIS is going to change your decision, yes or no, would probably be whether you want to continue it and or recommend approval or denial and go to the next step. So I just wanted to make that clear that you do have options in how you would ask for that TIS.
And I think we probably ought to all you guys, thank you too for all your concern and your comments. And I love that you love your area you live in. I just would like you guys to know too, as a planning and zoning commission, all we're doing is recommending to city council. So ours is only a recommendation, and we have to recommend on what the land use laws are, what planning, zoning, what all that is. If it meets all that and we recommend it, it doesn't mean city council is going to approve it. But ours is just a recommendation. So, am I correct on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Commissioners?
Yeah, sorry, I have a decent number
Commissioner
of
Larson?
questions. I don't think they're all super difficult. Just for staff, do you guys have a rough time frame of when we think Farmway will be done? Normally, and while you're collecting your thoughts, normally it takes a project years to get done. So even if we theoretically approve this project and then council approved it, it'd take, I don't know, 3 to 5 years before they could really even be done. So I'm assuming Farmway's gonna be done before 5 years, but.
Yes, Commissioner Larson. The remainder of the work on Farmway is the intersection at Ustick and Farmway. The Highway District is constructing a roundabout at that location. And so that is the reason that the Farmway corridor is still closed. And the reason that it's closed or the detour is for the length of Farmway is because we have to consider the type of vehicular traffic that uses Farmway. We typically do see those large semi-trucks, those large agricultural trucks that have multiple trailers. And so we have to do a very large detour to make sure that those types of vehicles can maneuver roads safely. So I do expect that project to be completed in the spring. Now that being said, as development continues along Farmway, we do require that development and developers are the ones that construct our improvements. And so as development continues, developers will continue to do frontage improvements, which will include curb, gutter, sidewalk, and other necessary widening along Farmway. That will not close Farmway Road again, but you will continue to see construction along Farmway as already approved development along Farmway begins to their construction.
Okay. And then, sorry, Harmon, a couple other questions. The concern about home value from staff, do you have any way to alleviate or provide clarity on how true being next to a super high density or low or medium density adjusts home value? If you don't, that's okay. We don't have legal here, so at your
Mr.
own
Chair,
risk.
Commissioner Larson, I'm not an economist, no, but I have never seen a piece of dirt worth more than something that's developed. So whether that's with 2 houses or 27, there could be caveats of if it's legitimate, what they quote unquote call HUD housing and stuff that is a very blatant blight that is dilapidated, yes, that can lower property values adjacent, absolutely. But one house on 5 acres will not be worth as much as 32 houses on 5 acres. And therefore, it's not even like a ring of development like they put in, I don't know, GIS systems and video games or whatever else you want to call it. Like it doesn't, just because one property is worth here doesn't mean the next property is worth a little bit less and a little bit, they do comps when they do real estate, right? When you buy
Correct.
a house, you're not comparing your 3,000 square foot house to the 1,200 square foot house that's down the street because it's 55 and older. They're comping it to what other house that's like yours is selling for. And that could be across the city. It's not always a one-to-one, oh, I live next to an apartment building, so now I'm screwed. That's not how that works.
Sorry, Harmon.
Hey, come on, guys, this is a public meeting, please.
Again, for the clarification along the sidewalk, how much of Dorman is the developer gonna, with the current plan, gonna develop along the sidewalk along Dorman?
They will complete the frontage improvements, including the sidewalk, along their entire frontage of Dorman.
Okay, so it's just their whole portion along Dorman's gonna be all sidewalk?
That is
Okay.
correct.
Another question I didn't know if you know, B, do you know what the road rating is on that? I think it's the COS is what we call it.
LOS.
LOS, LOL.
Level of service.
Gotcha.
Let me pull up that section of our CATS plan really fast, and I can get you an
Okay.
answer.
And then while she's looking that up, sorry, Chair, there's a lot of questions here. Is there, if we were to recommend for approval or denial based on, can we provide something that says that the CNRs need to have no subleasing? I don't know if we legally can do that.
Mr. Chair, I'd be weary of something like that. That was
Okay.
gonna be one of my clarification comments of, with Idaho's private property rights, it gets really difficult to start telling somebody whether they can sublease or not. And I
That's
would-
fine. I just
I think
wanted to
that'd
get
put the city
clarity.
in a very sticky situation.
Okay, yeah, we don't want to do anything that's illegal. Just two clarity pieces for the schools. The state does that, so we have no way to provide impact fees or anything, so all of our developments don't do anything on that, so all of that's the state, so we can't do anything with that. And then as she brought up while she's looking up the LOS, the roads are all developed by the developers, so all the extra roads, there's not a lot of spare money that the city of Caldwell has, so they only develop some extra spare roads throughout the whole city because there's not a lot of road funding to go to and improve roads throughout the valley. And I think that's it, other than the LOS.
Mr. Chair.
Harmon?
Yes.
I would also like to point out the Dorman is not operated by the city. It's actually operated by or maintained by HD4, Highway District 4. So that's another little caveat in there. That being said, for the safety concerns that were brought up, that is still something, we have a traffic commission. My understanding is Highway District 4 has a similar board that if the residents want speed bumps, which fire and police tend to hate speed bumps for many reasons, but extra stop signs or bus route signs and things like that, they can definitely coordinate with the district on that and try to get those, and I implore them to do that.
Okay, Harmon, those are all of mine for now. Thank you.
You're good. I have one quick question for the applicant. There was a lot of concern about the over 55. Could you explain that a little bit better to them, please?
So I think the concerns were, how are you gonna enforce the
That seems to be the tenor of that, which I understandable. So we would have an HOA board that would be regulating that. Also, the CCNRs would be enforceable, that provision by the city would be another option. We didn't have a copy of the CCNR prepared at this time, but we could definitely work with the city and have a provision that says the city has the right to enforce that specific provision, and either they can do themselves, or we could report that to the city for enforcement, report code enforcement. Homeowners themselves could also enforce that through code enforcement. I don't want to make more work for code enforcement, but that is a job that they would have to do. Again, there's a lot of options there.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for him, for the applicant, before he?
None for me, no.
Thank you.
Do you want to close public testimony
do.
this time?
Commissioner Harmon, sorry,
Nope,
really fast.
I forgot we were waiting on your answer.
I apologize. I should have thought about your question slightly longer. Dorman is a local road, and so we did not complete level of service
Okay.
for the local roads.
And there's no existing level of service to look back on, or nothing that would be representative to something close?
That's correct. I don't
Okay.
have anything good. That would come out of a traffic impact study if that is something that you wish to request.
No, yeah, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Sorry, further point, and Haley can speak to this too. That's not something that's the city's decision, that's across the industry, ACHD, everywhere, that they don't do level of services for local streets. They just don't. So that's not something that the city just decided to be a jerk about.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a question for staff.
Okay.
On that traffic impact
Commissioner
study, if we were to recommend it, would that be a city expense or would that be something directed at the developer?
The developer is responsible for the expenses associated with the traffic impact study.
Even though if the traffic impact study affects all of Dorman, which could affect which would affect other properties being developed at the time, so that would still fall on the developer only, even though it could be used for other developments. Is that correct?
The traffic impact study that unless you specified otherwise, the traffic impact study that I would request would be specific to the development. While it can take into account ongoing entitlement projects or already entitled projects, it wouldn't be evaluating projects outside of its own application.
We couldn't suggest it. Dorman is a 1 mile stretch of road. And so that's what I'm asking is, the impact study could or could not be for all of Dorman or just for the property development?
It would be for impacts caused by the property development.
I have a quick question. On an impact study for traffic, it would be worthless right now. The end of Dorman isn't even open. You cannot even get through. So just saying.
Yeah, no, thank you.
To push that would be worthless.
Okay, thank you.
Expensive.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Public testimony's over, sorry, guys.
Yeah, we gotta
I'm
move it
sorry, I can't take public testimony. We're not taking any more.
So move to close public testimony.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so, commissioners, we can deliberate.
I do have one more question for staff, sorry. The number one that you talked about in your map exhibit of approved development, is number one the Covington Square coming back? Can you provide some clarity on that piece? Is that, I can't remember exactly what you said, and I was trying to get clarity on whether it's done or needs to come back to us or come back to council.
Sure, thank you, Commissioner Larson. So that is Covington Square. The current developer is not who took it through the first time, or the current landowner is not who did the 29 homes, so there was no bait and switch there. This is a new landowner. However, the plat did expire from my understanding, and so right now it's just zoned R1. Under the new code, to do a subdivision, they just need to come back through with a new plat, and then they can do whatever allowed uses, or they can ask for a rezone as well. I believe they've submitted that application, but it has not been assigned yet. I don't know what planner is gonna be there. And again, as noted at the beginning, that is not on the table tonight, it's just this project.
Correct, yeah, just providing some clarity. Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
I mean, I definitely hear those concerns. I mean, does meet all their stuff.
I agree with
And
you.
the annex and everything, and I think, I would put a condition though to make sure there's a CCNRs for 55 and over
I would agree.
on approval, but that's my 2 cents, and then I think we let city council.
I mean, going back to what staff and then the presenters stated, that there isn't much of a difference between an R1 and R2 zone. That being said, I mean, it may trigger a redraw of some point. I feel like there's a lot of community outreach here, especially on a 1 mile stretch. And multiple of them have stated that R1 is what they would like. And based on what staff has said and the developer, if it's not much of a difference, I see the condition for approval for us anyway, for a recommendation to be, for council for it to stay in R1 zone.
I agree. What's your thoughts?
I mean, I guess it's a deliberation, but I don't think it's, if they were to go down to a neighborhood 1, which would then have a lower density, it would be more of a spot zoning, which would be technically not what we're supposed to do, because it'd be leaning towards not following the general theme of the
Well, you say spot zoning,
environment.
but in fact, I'm zooming out in the Canyon County Parcel Viewer and in the city's own zoning map. It's not 1 mile, it's 3 miles of R1 in all directions. This one piece of property, there's only very few properties, I don't know how these properties were approved, that were zoned R2, but they're miles away. So this would be another one of those where it's rezoned as an R2 that completely doesn't fit. Most of the R2 zones are all focused around the main roads like the boulevard and others, more centralized towards the city centers. I tend to agree with the community. This is an R1 area. Even when we look out at some of the other projects that we've worked on.
Can we hold the clapping, guys? This isn't that kind of meeting, sorry.
Even when we look at some of the other developments that we have talked about, and but they're much, much larger developments that are zoned as R2.
But can you clarify one more time, please?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I do want to make sure there's a difference between neighborhood 1, which is
Neighborhood
future
one is-
land
It's
use,
neighborhood, it's not R.
versus
That's
R1.
that's
Correct.
right.
Yeah,
Zoning
Sorry,
and
that's why I
future
need
land
the
use
clarification.
are not the same. The old comp plan, they were the same, which is actually very weird as far as in the industry. But neighborhood 1, that is not on the table. That would be a comprehensive plan map amendment, which is not being requested, and nor can you guys recommend that. That's not on the table.
No.
You could make a recommendation of approval or denial, whatever you guys want there, that the applicant revise the plan to comply with the R1 zoning district. Yes, I would appreciate if you guys do that, you do that in the motion, so that way I can work with the applicant to make sure that it is noticed appropriately moving forward, because if there could be headaches with the legal stuff there, making sure that whatever is mailed out to the neighbors again, that it's noticed appropriately. But if that is, and technically, they don't, because it's a recommendation, the applicant does not have to listen to that. They could they can go to council with what they've originally proposed and say that we appreciate commission's recommendation, but we want to stick with what we asked for.
Yeah.
But you can put that as a part of the motion, yes.
It wouldn't, and am we correct that it won't change much anyways? They can still pretty much do what they were gonna do anyways if we went
I
to
believe that
R1?
they can do the same number of units, yes.
So I guess, sorry to Harmon to keep harping on this. So the compatibility zone districts under neighborhood 1 are not R1, it's RS1, RS2, and PD.
Correct.
So if
That's
we
not
were,
a part of this project, though.
Yeah.
Right, so this is neighborhood 2.
Apologize, yeah, I missed.
correct, which is what I was saying, that if we were
Thank
to
you.
ask to change it to a different zone would be not, I don't want to say it's illegal, not a best practice because of the other zones all being neighborhood 2.
So you're saying recommend changing the comp plan?
No.
No, recommend changing the specific zone to be a RS1, RS2, or PD, having a lower
That would be
zoning
incompatible
density.
with the future land use map, because the future land use map is neighborhood 2, which is R1 and R2. That's why it's compatible, the request is compatible with the comp plan, because it meets the compatible zoning district of R2 or R1.
I mean, I do understand that we do have a new comp plan, and Caldwell is changing, it is growing. And we all see that, and I feel like the community is really reaching out here, so I don't, you know, at least I, because I'm new to this, to be honest, I'm only done this a couple of months, I didn't get a chance to speak on the comp plan as much as I wish I could have, but, I just, if it's not going to change all that much, I think a condition for approval should be just to go back to the R1 zoning. That is, and then same with the CCNR. I would look for a CCNR of 55 and over. We cannot restrict people from their property once they buy it. Just no different than anyone who, the first seller who sold the property probably had a condition in there and that changed. We can't control that. We can only do so much. So I think those two conditions for approval should be considered.
Well, so can somebody give me a recommendation?
I would make a motion to keep this as an R1 zone with a CCNR of a 55 and over occupied. Based on the testimonies and evidence in record of the matter upon the findings and facts of conditions and law set forth herein, I do hereby determine and move that I request for approval of ANN 25-09 and SPP 25-12 Summit Grove subdivision with the condition of an R1 and a CCNR stating a 55 ownership and over ownership. And so move for approval.
Do I have a second?
You can second. There's only 3 of us.
Yeah.
All right, I'll second that. All in favor? Roll call?
Vance,
Aye.
Harmon,
Yes.
Larson.
No.
All right, so that concludes that, and we are gonna move on to, where's my next? I wrote too many notes on it. We need to take a vote on P and Z Commission Chair. Do we have a recommendation or a?
I mean, I make a motion for Chairman, or for Commissioner Harmon to be chairman of the commission.
Second.
Do we need to do roll call on this?
No.
Huh?
She's not.
No, not really. Just
Okay,
do it. All right.
roll call, please.
Vance,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Harmon.
Yes. All right, let's go to vice chair. I make a recommendation for Dave, for Commissioner Larson to be vice chair.
I would second.
Roll call?
Harmon,
Yes.
Vance,
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Okay. I got a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I motion to adjourn, so moved, yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.